Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sufficient Grace. For those that don't know, I'm Pastor Jason's wife, Sherri, and today I'm just going to share a quick word with you about it matters. So, how we live our lives matters. God has given us a roadmap to follow, the Bible, and when we study it, we see that how we live our lives matters. Today, I want to share 3 points with you. And so the first point is it matters what you think. We have a brief window when a thought comes in to either accept it or reject it. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." When we keep our minds and thoughts on God, he gives us peace. Sometimes we get so caught up in the world that we live in that we become like them instead of shining a light for them to see Jesus in us. But Romans 12:2 says, "Don't copy the behavior or customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." So we don't have to think and be like the world around us. It's not always easy to keep our thoughts on track, but the Bible tells us what things we should think. In Philippians 4, verses 6-8, it says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things." Thinking on these things is how we change the channel of those thoughts that try to come in. We can change the channel. We don't have to accept them. And thinking on the things that the Bible tells us to think about is how we can change the channel. So when those thoughts of worry or fear or doubt or defeat come in, we don't have to accept them. We can set our thoughts on the things that the Word tells us to think on. The second thing I'd like to share is it matters what you speak. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it and indulge it will eat its fruit and bear the consequences of their words." This verse tells us that there is power in the words that we speak. We can choose to speak victory or defeat. We can choose to speak life or death. Proverbs 21:23 says, "Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble." The words we speak can literally have an effect on our lives. If you look at a story from the book of Numbers in the Bible, you can see this very clearly. The 12 spies were sent out, and only Joshua and Caleb came back with a good report. And the other spies caused the people to grumble and complain and to even wish that they were living their life back in slavery in Egypt. And out of all of the people, the only ones who got to enter the promised land that God had told them that they would go to were Joshua and Caleb. Everyone else died before they ever made it to the promised land. So the words that we speak are very important. It matters what we speak. There's power in the words that we speak. The third thing I'd like to share with you today is that it matters how you respond. We all face things every day. The way you respond to things, whether good or bad, matters. The 3 Hebrew boys in the book of Daniel, they were facing a trial, probably bigger than most of us face. They were told to bow or be thrown into the furnace. They didn't become fearful and they didn't bow. And despite being thrown in the furnace, God brought them through. And the king took notice of the God that they served. In James chapter 1, verses 2-5, it tells us, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." No one wants to go through trials and tests, but the Bible tells us how to respond to them. How we respond to them matters. We're all going to face trials. It doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter our financial status. It doesn't matter our marital status. It doesn't matter if we're young, if we're old. Everyone is going to face trials. Now, those trials may look different for every situation and every person, but everyone is going to face trials. It doesn't say if you face trials, it says when you face trials. But we can count it all joy when we go through trials that are incredibly hard and incredibly painful. And we don't have to get weighed down by the trials that we face. It doesn't mean that we just put a smile on and act like we're happy when we're going through the hardest thing we've ever gone through. But it just means that we can keep our perspective in the right place and just know that if we're going through it, like, God's going to bring us through it. He's not going to leave us there on our own, and we can learn something through whatever we're facing. So we can count it joy. But maybe you've never really thought about these things that I shared with you today. And so I hope that these 3 points really help you to see that how you live your life matters. It matters what you think, it matters what you speak, and it matters how you respond. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.